As we go through these slides, I'm hoping to create a better understanding for folks as to the difference between reliability and quality, and see how the reliability maturity assessments that can be used for reliability actually focus in areas that aren't covered in our quality assessments that we've come to know over the years. Some of the things that we're going to cover are reliability versus quality. Again, to gain that understanding, reliability maturity assessment. We're going to take a look at what is a reliability maturity index. I'm going to show you some examples of outputs from the RMAs and examples of RMIs. We're going to look at some additional uses for those, and then we'll open it up for questions. Reliability versus quality. Reliability assurance is understood to be the ability of a system or component to perform its required functions under stated conditions for a period of time. If we have folks on that are mostly familiar with quality and not reliability, you can pick up a couple of things just in that one statement. We're definitely not looking at just part to print or design for manufacturing. We're looking at the component through all phases of the product development cycle, and we're looking at it measuring against its expected performance in all of its intended environments, not just being used in California, not just being used in Alaska. But a lot of the components that we're making out there for the auto industry sees a variety of environments, including storage environments, which sometimes is overlooked when we're trying to design product. As compared against reliability assurance, quality assurance is then a set of activities whose purpose is to demonstrate that a product meets all quality requirements. And the next couple of slides are going to hopefully differentiate the two of these even more. I'm not sure I'm going to get the pronunciation of his name correctly, but Dimitri Kissisioglu, has written a book, and it's called the Reliability Engineering Handbook. And these are some quotes that came out of his book in his attempt to describe the difference between reliability and quality. Reliability is concerned, again, with the performance of a product over its entire lifetime. It assures that components, equipment, and systems function without failure for desired periods during the whole design life, from conception to birth, conception, birth to death. In our world of automotive, it's generally called cradle to grave. Quality, on the other hand, is concerned with the performance of a product at a specific point in time. It's not measured against its performance today, tomorrow, through its entire product life cycle, like we see in reliability. Quality control also assures conformance to specifications. Again, we're talking about testing that might happen at the end of a production phase, if you will. It could be measuring a part to print after it's seen an assembly process. Quality control also includes checking incoming parts. These are all things that we've become familiar with, again, through the 80s and the 90s, as we put a lot of emphasis on part to print for the manufacturing purposes. I think this paints probably the best picture of the reliability versus quality. It gives you an idea of when we're talking about reliability, this is how it's defined. Mean time to failure, mean time between failure, and again, failure rate or the hazard rate. If we take those three characteristics and we compare them to some of the standard quality goals that we see, those would be parts per million, defect levels, scrap reduction. So I'm hoping that now that we've looked at reliability versus quality, that our folks in the audience can really picture where we're heading now as we go in and talk about reliability maturity. I just threw this slide in here. There are a lot of quality references out there that have been developed over time, and we have reliability references as well. Before I came into the reliability field, which was 5 years ago, some of these items I'd never heard of while I was in the quality engineering arena. So it's been a welcome introduction for me to expand a little bit and become familiar with these references. And being unfamiliar with the entire audience, I don't know how much exposure you have to these, but a lot of these you can learn either online or in specific classes, and just to broaden your horizon, you might take an interest in becoming more familiar with these. That leads us to reliability maturity. If you can picture in your mind a little child being born, watching the child develop through its phases, and maybe getting to the ages that we are now, it's a good understanding that we gain knowledge over time, we apply that knowledge over time. Through the application of our knowledge, we gain the experience. Through the experience, we gain wisdom. And as we have been assessing ourselves internally, and I'll again talk about how good are we doing in the quality arena, we've been assessing our suppliers against those same measures. We are now coming out and encouraging people to put that attention, that focus in the reliability arena. One of the problems that we currently have, whether you're a supplier or an OEM, we don't have anything to measure ourselves against. We don't have any quantitative value to take a look at to compare our current state with desired state. So what we want to do is we want to take the quality or state of being mature in standard reliability practices and the effective application of reliability tools and measure it. Why is reliability maturity important? Some folks that have started learning about reliability maturity are really seeing that reliability is the missing link in a lot of our processes that we have. We have design engineering, designing. We have manufacturing, manufacturing. We have persons gathering warranty data and, seeing the cost that we're paying per vehicle as far as warranty costs. But we've not been doing a very good job at taking all that information that's being gathered and pulling it together. I'd like to think that we're going to be seeing reliability as the conduit that's holding all these different product development cycles together. So reliability maturity can be described as being important for the knowledge and experience that it provides to help us identify and mitigate risks during all the product development phases. Reliability maturity is important because it yields a system or a component that performs its required functions, here we go, under stated conditions for a specified period of time. You will always, always, always see those three components when we're talking about reliability being defined. Another reason reliability maturity is important is because it does reduce the product life cycle cost. How do we measure reliability maturity? I made reference earlier to a reliability maturity assessment that can be used to measure reliability. The output of that assessment is going to be a numeric value, and it's going to be called the Reliability Maturity Index. AM General had started a supplier reliability process back in 2006. And Ha mentioned in the introduction that I'm the person that is leading that charge. And I did a lot of research trying to understand what resources are out there available that I can tap from, so I'm not, having the same problems that maybe they've already resolved. And I'm telling you, when it came to building a reliability maturity assessment, there was little to nothing available. I was finding persons like Cessna had an established supplier reliability program and had written expectations for their suppliers. SAE J1000 is out there describing an effective reliability program, but nobody had a way to measure how good are we doing in the area of reliability. So that encouraged us, AM General, to take a look at what should that look like. The criteria that we started using was based on several different items, resources that were available to us. I mentioned SAE J1000. And in a couple slides, I'm going to show you a list of resources that AM General used to develop our criteria for reliability assessments. I want to just keep reminding folks that when I'm talking about reliability maturity assessments, it's not something just that we would like to do with our suppliers as an assessment during the supplier selection process. I'm encouraging OEMs to sit down and walk through a reliability assessment as well, so we can start leading that charge and being examples and know what works and know what doesn't work before we start putting conditions on our suppliers. When you're building your reliability criteria, or if you're selecting an assessment that's already in existence, some of the things that you want to include or look for are that there's technical information in the criteria based on bodies of knowledge. I have a slide in here that I took from ASQ's CRE body of knowledge, the CRE being the Certified Reliability Engineer exam. And I've got an RMA that I can show you that's pretty much covering or including all of those bodies of knowledge. Also included in your criteria, you should be looking for all the product development phases. A lot of times, I'll just use a quality assessment as an example. When I compared AM General's reliability assessments against AM General's quality assessment, the only area that we had an overlap for bodies of knowledge was in the area of corrective action. And that makes sense, because when we're talking about reliability in all the product development phases, we're looking for corrective action during design, validation, pre-production, production, and aftermarket. Another thing that you want to have included in your reliability maturity assessment is obviously a range of maturity ratings. The reason a good or bad or yes or no isn't effective when you're trying to measure yourself, it's because as you work towards improving, you have now a 5, 3, 1 to choose against. So if your low rating is a 1 and you improve to a 5, you can literally see that growth as time goes on. If you're only doing red, green, yes, no, you can't see the development as well. One thing you want to be able to do is record your objective evidence. This could be a file name, it could be a link to something, and I'm going to show you examples of this. Again, you want a quantifiable result. Here are the examples of body of knowledge, and you'll see in the slide that it came from ASQ CRE exam. I'll leave that up there for a moment so you can digest it rather than reading through it. Now that we've had a moment to look at it, if you just run through your mind, if you've got experience in quality engineering, you'll see that some of these things wouldn't be things that quality engineering might engage in. Reliability modeling and predictions, that's something that's very specific to reliability. Reliability in design and development. As a quality engineer, I know when I worked on the H2 program with the GM folks, we were involved as quality engineers in design and development. But when I take a look at it from a reliability perspective now, I would be looking at different things in the design and development phases with the engineer than I did as a quality engineer. The product development phases that you want to make sure are covered in your reliability maturity assessment are, this is taken exactly from APQP. Obviously the planning phase, product design and development phase, process design and development phase, product and process validation, and production and field use. That comes in one category. When AM General put together the reliability maturity assessment, we tried to use common terminology that was already available, and we used common product development phases. What we wanted to do when we were working with our supply base is not intimidate them with new language, new categories, things that were unfamiliar to them. We wanted to go to our supply base and help them see what's similar as far as in their pre-production planning phases, their APQP phases, their measurement systems analysis phases, and help them understand how they can work reliability into those existing items, rather than take a brand new approach and add to what they're already doing. This is a good picture to demonstrate how reliability actually fits into the APQP product development phases. Again, here's the program planning. This is the whole line that we just saw on the previous slide that comes from APQP. The line below it is a line that was added by the work group through AIAG. This was approximately 7 years ago when they came up with this pictorial, and they did a great job at helping us see that during the program planning phase, our contribution should be requirements analysis, reliability, and test planning. During the product design and development phase, our contributions should be design risk, identification, and mitigation of those risks. During the process design and development phases, reliability should be looking at process risk identification and mitigation. During product and process validation, reliability should be looking at product and process test and evaluation. And then for production and field use, obviously we want to do some more data collection and root cause analysis. Why is this important to us? To the folks that are listening to this webinar right now, the reason this is important to us is because these are exactly the types of things that we are not looking at as we go out and we do quality assessments. We are not looking at these categories in our own home. So if you take a good look and keep a recollection of this bottom line, these are the things that your criteria should be written against when you're either utilizing or creating a reliability maturity assessment. In your reliability maturity assessment, this is another thing that can help you build a really good one. This list comes from AIAG Reliability Methods Guideline, and these are determined by a group of experts in reliability to be core tools. So if you were going to build your reliability plan, you would want to make sure that your plan included good use of these tools throughout the product life cycle. These appear to be just in alphabetical order, so if you're trying to look through this chronologically, it probably will not happen for you. But you're going to see in some of the reliability and maturity assessments I'm going to show you that we definitely have covered all these areas that are listed here. And just a side note, the Reliability Methods Guideline does a great job explaining each of these tools, the purpose of each tool, the benefit of each tool, when to use the tool, examples of what this tool looks like, and so on. This is, again, the core tool list, which I think is 11 tools. The Reliability Methods Guideline includes 45 reliability tools. Excuse me. When you're writing the criteria, or if you're reviewing an existing RMA, you should see that that criteria is clear, it's concise, it's aligned with existing resources. Again, you don't want to be intimidating. You want to come in with persons in your organization, if you're doing a self-assessment, or if you're working with a supplier, that the criteria is not arbitrary. You can give them examples on what they should be looking for in their process, or in their documentation, or in their reliability plan. Clearly written, concise, complete, and your criteria should be measurable. Following on what an RMA should include, common terminology again, You want to align it with existing standards, clearly written, be concise, be complete, measurable, and provide a field to record or link objective evidence. This is a list I mentioned earlier. These are examples of resources used by AM General. One thing you may notice is some of these items are also identified as quality tools. I will tell you that in the reliability maturity assessments that I've worked on, we did include quality tools that are already out there, but we're looking at those quality tools through the eyes of a reliability engineer. And I hope to give you some examples in existing RMAs. Side note on ISO TS 16949. If you're familiar with 16949, you will recognize a section in there. It's section 7, and that does include, that touches on product development and includes some, I guess I'll say reference, for lack of a better word, for reliability. So if you're working on 16949, or if you're already registered to 16949, if you go back and take a look at that section 7, you'll see that we're already starting to move into that area where they're building reliability into some of the quality standards. Who uses the reliability maturity assessment process? Well, as I mentioned, we want this process to be usable by many, many professionals already out there. We are hoping that when reliability maturity assessments get designed out, that it doesn't require a seasoned reliability engineer to perform the assessment or to debug the wording in it. We're hoping that persons can come and pick it up. It's written in meaningful language, and it can be applied by supply management, supplier quality, quality engineering, product engineering, obviously, in addition to reliability engineering. In a work group through AIAG, we did create a reliability maturity assessment, and we had several automotive suppliers working on our team. The interesting thing there is they were commenting about feeling overburdened by the demands that customers are putting on them in the automotive world. And so they're saying, like, you know, I'm kind of buying into this reliability maturity assessment process, but can we have it done as a self-assessment? And when we trialed AM General, as well as the AIAG work group, when we trialed our reliability maturity assessments, we did it both ways, as a self-assessment and as a second party going in there and working with suppliers to go through the assessment. And that really helped us glean a lot of the complicated language out of AM General's reliability assessment, as well as the one that AIAG work group worked on. What is the reliability maturity index? Essentially, it's the output. It's the output from your reliability maturity assessments. It's a numeric value. Again, hopefully, you've got a range of values to select from as far as your level of maturity. In hours, if you're very mature, you get a 5. If you're somewhat mature, you get a 3. If you're clueless, you don't know, you don't even recognize the tool name, let alone use the tool meaningfully, it's going to be a 1. It measures the degree of understanding and proper use of foundational reliability tools. The RMI can represent the reliability maturity of a body of knowledge or overall reliability maturity. And we're going to show you some examples pretty quick here. The RMI also reveals potential reliability risks. We found this really helpful when AM General first went out and did assessments on suppliers of critical risk components. To AM General, just for explanatory purposes, critical risk items are those items that in the event they would fail, that it would cause a mission abort. So when we first started our supplier reliability assurance process, our assessment was for those suppliers who are design responsible for critical items. We determined that's where our highest risk was. That's where we wanted to put our energy. We weren't going to come out with a blanket statement and say, if you're a supplier to AM General, therefore you will have reliability requirements on each and every one of your components. It didn't make sense, but what did make sense is what you're going to see shortly here, which will be an example of our results from those assessments. So the RMI reveals potential risks. It reveals strengths and opportunities for growth. We had one company working in the AIAG work group that they're global. They did an assessment internal to a local site here in Michigan. They were so excited about what it showed them that the person that administered the reliability maturity assessment went to the higher level management and said, you know, I think we should take this assessment and do it at additional sites. So then it went regional. And then over time, as you can probably guess, it went global. So not only were they able to see where their strengths and weaknesses were in a particular site as it relates to reliability talent, but now they can take a look at all these different assessments through all these different sites, local, regional, global, and see where their subject matter experts are for different areas of reliability. And when they saw that, it was one of those aha moments for them, because if you look at the next notes here, that's going to help them minimize contracting technical expertise outside the company and minimize the need for contracting consultants. So if there's a lessons learned in this whole project that we've been working on, it is, if you don't know what your internal resources are, you're not using them effectively, and it's going to cost you money, and it's going to lose you talent maybe in the long run, because if you're not utilizing your existing talent to their full potential, they may go someplace else for more challenge, bigger opportunities. So just a side note there. Another thing that your RMI will reveal to you is comparing your standard practice in your current state to your standard practice that you would expect to see in your desired state. You can use your RMI to promote reliability management, create a competitive edge, and promote the company's dedication towards improving reliability. I had one supplier that they were so excited, a supplier was so excited at the results of their RMA. They did have opportunities for improvement in some areas, but they fared better than what they thought they might. They actually went to their salesperson and wanted their salesperson to start telling potential customers about how good they were in specific areas. So, I mean, that's something that an OEM can do, truck and heavy equipment can do, general suppliers to the automotive industry can do. If you know where you are, if you know where your strengths are, now you can start sharing that information with your customer, potential customer, as they start comparing different criteria for suppliers, one against the other. I'm going to show you examples of reliability maturity assessments. I'll show you AM General's first. This is a 2007 version. I'm showing you this version because it's safer. It's not quite as proprietary as some other things that we have. And it meets the criteria that we talked about earlier, in that you'll see along the left side here, it does follow, it includes all the product development phases. This would be the design development, production, field support. Things that we were looking at, it seemed to be more program and planning related. We were looking for specific information here. Show me your reliability validation plan so we know that you know and understand what it should look like, what the information should be tied against. When I say tied against, you definitely want to be looking at your GFEMAs and your DVPNRs should reflect specific testing in order to properly validate it. Reliability growth plan was one of the stumbling blocks when we first went out with our reliability maturity assessment. Most folks don't have a reliability department, and they were really stumbling on, I don't really know what a reliability growth plan is, I don't know what it looks like. We were able to show them examples and references using the AIAG Truck and Heavy Equipment Reliability Methods Guideline, which was very, very helpful. So this is just an example. Here's some quantitative values. At this time, we were rating them, 75 to 100%. If we thought that they were pretty much demonstrating they knew and understand the use of reliability tools, they were doing things in a timely fashion, they could demonstrate through lessons learned and application of those lessons learned back into their design development phases and so on. But this is just one example of an RMA. This is a brief version. Excuse me. This was put together just a couple of weeks ago. I had a couple people ask me, well, I'm not sure if I want to spend that much time going through a full reliability maturity assessment. Is there a quick litmus test that maybe I can take to see where we fall, and then maybe I can get my team to buy in to spending that 5 hours or whatever it might be to go through a deeper dive on reliability maturity. So this is just a cute little thing that you come over here and say, my standard practice currently includes benchmarking, yes or no. And I'm just going to go through here and click yes just for demonstration purposes. We'll click one no. We'll click this one no. Reliability maturity assessment, we'll say, nah, it's not a standard practice yet. I'm thinking about it, but don't really do it yet. And you'll see that we've kept this to where even if you don't do reliability maturity assessments, your litmus rating for the category of reliability planning is deemed acceptable. Now, why would we do that? The reason we did it is our work group is very sensitive to the folks that don't have access to this. They don't know how to build one. There's only 2 of them out there on the market right now, and one is AM Generals, one is the one that our work group through AIAG came up with. So we can't expect this to be a high yes across the board as we go out and do this litmus test. Down here, very similar process. You're going to go through here and answer all these. And we'll just do it real quick here. If I change one of these to no, let's see what happens. Okay, in this one, because of its contents and the way it's weighted, whoa, you can really get a lot of no's in this one. Wow. So for design for reliability, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are actually weighted. These 3 down here are relative to electronics only. And that's probably why, if it's an N over here, we're anticipating the majority of the users are not going to be electrical. Oh, but there's a note over here. Select not applicable if you do not design or manufacture electrical. So that means that this wouldn't really count against you. But you can see just by looking at the names of the tools in this list here that they are very reliability specific and that we would expect to see yeses in there. If we are not using these tools, then this is going to be not acceptable. We want to make it look good. So anyway, this is just a quick check. And again, it does cover all the product life cycles that's described in APQP. And down here, we do include reliability in manufacturing. We've got inclusion of warranty. So we've got the whole gamut there. Very cool. So this is a short version of this. And this is something most folks are really, really excited about. There's been a lot of painstaking effort put into this. I can show you on the side what the categories are. You pretty much saw them in the previous one. We've got reliability planning, category A, design for reliability. We've got criteria for reliability prediction and modeling. We have established criteria for reliability of mechanical components and systems, statistical concepts, failure reporting and analysis, analyzing reliability data, reliability testing, and then reliability manufacturing. This is just a snippet that I wanted to show you how it's formatted. This obviously lists what the reliability tool is. This gives you a brief description of the application of the tool that we're going to be assessing. And if you're really good at using this tool, then you will show evidence that you benchmark attributes that are specific and baseline, and you have goals that are set and measured against. If you're not very good at it, you're going to score yourself a 1. And this is what I was mentioning, is that you've got a selection here, not a yes or a no, but this is a more meaningful assessment in that we give you a 5, 3, or 1. So let's just say it's a 5. And we've read this one. We've determined that we're a 5 in employing quality function deployment. For reliability plan, reliability tools and techniques to be used throughout the product life cycle is the application. And I'm going to say, you know, I'm pretty good. Excuse me. Reliability tools are used in some of the product life cycle, so I'm going to give myself a 3 here. And by the way, these are weighted. All the core reliability tools that you saw on that list of 11 earlier in the presentation are all weighted 9s. The next higher important reliability tools are rated 7, and then the lesser important ones are rated 3. And so what's your reliability maturity index for each line item then is your maturity rating times the weighting that was assigned for that particular line item. And you'll see the results in a moment here. We added a column here that says ISO TS reference. Again, we want to show OEMs and we want to show suppliers, don't be afraid to assess your reliability maturity. If you are doing ISO TS 16949, these are the references in ISO 16949 that I was able to identify that are directly or somewhat directly related to some of these line items. So our criteria might be a little bit heavier of a requirement in the area of reliability than what's mentioned in this area of 16949. But if you're doing 16949, this is my way of telling you you're on the right track to setting yourself up to incorporate some of the flavor of reliability here. I've had suppliers use the objective evidence column to link directly into their documents or testing reports or whatever evidence they might have that shows that they meet this criteria that they're being assessed against. And again, simple, easy language to understand. Back to the benchmarking example, I'm looking at benchmarking reliability. I'm looking at the methodology for that. Well, you ask yourself, is benchmarking tool used as a standard practice and used properly? This then tells you how to know that. It's used properly if Your benchmark attributes are specific in baseline, so on, so on, so on. I think you get the message. The reason I'm going into so much detail on this particular reliability maturity assessment is because it's easy to use, it's wholesome, it's meaningful, it includes everything you could possibly want at this point in stage of reliability. We might have some reliability experts say it doesn't go deep enough. We don't want it to go so deep that it's not usable for generic quality professionals or supply chain management professionals. So we didn't want to dummy it up too much, but we also didn't want to overwhelm people with having to learn a new language. So I can't repeat that enough. So you saw the scoring that I put in there. I need to put a couple ones in here so you can see what happens. This particular RMA is designed to give you your automatic scoring on the next tab, titled Scoring. It breaks it down by category, so you can see your strength and weakness in each category, as explained in what a good RMA should. It also will give you your overall scoring down here. This one, in this case, is 51%, only because it's not totally populated yet. And then we'll go into obviously, this is pink, so it means corrective action is going to be required, and you need to complete the gap analysis. In addition to giving you the scoring by category, we've created some management level charts, just like quick sees. Your management team, and maybe you don't want to go through this by line item and painstaking time trying to digest, how good am I and where am I good. But you can look at the scoring and you can determine that. You can look at the chart and it's going to tell you that. While we're here, we might as well just keep going. Here's a chart that was generated based on the information that I just populated there. As you know, that there are 71 line items out of 76 that don't have a score in them, so this radar plot chart is going to look a little bit out of whack. But the B minimum level is in red. So if you're doing the assessment, obviously anything that's inside the red is going to be a problem area. Anything outside the red needs improvement. If you hit green, it's like, okay, you're in an area of comfort as far as your reliability maturity level for these different categories. And then you can pick and choose, do I want to increase my performance in a specific category, or are you happy where you are? The gap analysis, let's see here, I think this has to be set on a 1. Yes, that's a note to self, sorry about that. But it automatically creates a gap analysis for you and tells you that, okay, the reason this is in your gap analysis is because you scored under a 3. Anything under a 3, which would be 1s, are going to be your greatest areas of opportunity. And so it tells you that. It says, in the area of reliability planning, the intention was to show evidence that you have quantitative product reliability deliverables, and you would know that if you can produce evidence that your deliverables are quantitative, they're clearly defined, and in accordance with respective procedure. And that was the desired state. We failed to meet it. Your current state would be, we have no reliability plan, or our reliability plan lacks X, Y, Z. And then if you want to go ahead and use this form as your corrective action, then you can assign responsibility to it, determine a due date when that person needs to deliver whatever action is required. All right, so that completes examples of reliability maturity assessments. This is an example of a populated RMA. This is, again, the reliability maturity indexes. And you can see that this one is close to 90, and that one is 90%. So you can see you're free and clear. You don't have anything close to the red, which would be the minimum level. You have several areas that are outside the green, so overall this was not too bad of an assessment. We also threw in there a Pareto chart by category, and we did it in reverse because we want people to really be aware of this is my area for opportunity, and you know we're doing pretty good here. Anything above the green, yeah, we're doing pretty good. So here as an example, and this is based on an actual compilation of 14 different assessments from 14 different companies. So you can see one area that can use some help here is the reliability of mechanical components and systems. And we would have to go back to the detail that appears in that section to know what the shortcomings were, but this is just another way for you to look at the results. An example of the gap analysis that I showed you. This is just a screenshot. Again, it's giving you everything that was rated a maturity level of a 1, and it's showing you the category where you rated 1s, the specific line items, shows you what the tool weight was, just for information only. Or it can help you also prioritize. You're like, my goodness, if these are weighted 9s and 9 is the highest weight, then obviously it's very important. Maybe I should focus some attention here. One thing about the reliability maturity assessment process is I've been trying to really communicate this over and over during this presentation. It's not just something for the suppliers to use. It's not just something for us to use to measure our suppliers, but also for us as OEMs. So we can see where our strengths are, our weaknesses, internal to our system, across different reliability or engineering sites. And like the one example I gave you of an automotive supplier in the area, they took it global across their company and were able to identify subject matter experts that they had in different areas and locations. For us, AM General, one thing that it did for us is it really opened another line of communication with our suppliers. We did a rollout back in 2007 and invited those suppliers I was telling you about, the ones that have the critical items. We brought them in 2 different sessions because we wanted the groups to be manageable, and rolled out what supplier reliability assurance looks like to AM General, what we were going to be expecting as far as participation, deliverables, in helping us improve reliability in our overall product. We went over assessment criteria with them, and then after that we went on site to their facilities and worked with them through reliability maturity assessment. Now at that time, with reliability being so new of an expectation, we committed to the supplier and to supply chain management that we weren't going to use the results to say accept or reject them as an existing supplier or for new business. We chose to approach it as these are some areas that we believe could use some development. If you need it, we've got reliability experts in-house that can help you raise your level of performance. Or if you believe that you've got enough expertise in your own home, Mr. Supplier, then we'll leave you to taking responsibility for raising that level of performance, because it is going to be measured again. I mentioned earlier that RMAs can help you identify risk at the supplier level. It does give you a quantitative measure. If you want to get to the point where you're using this for supplier selection, which is going to be strongly encouraged probably in the next few years, now you've got a quantitative measure. It's not a shoot from the hip. It's not like, well, all right, well, let's take our quality assessments from over the years and see what we can glean from that as far as maybe what reliability might be filtered in there. It's actually going to give you an apple-to-apple comparison, supplier to supplier, and you can measure the improvements at the supplier himself. So, provides a method for prioritizing areas of focus with the supplier. I put this slide in here. This is AM General's results after we assessed 46 suppliers of critical components. And What I found very interesting, it supports what was mentioned earlier about the focus that we put on quality over the years as compared to focusing on reliability throughout the entire product life cycle. And what I circled in green is the higher scores when we Pareto this were in validation plan, suppliers having a production program plan, suppliers having a development program plan, and showing reliability efforts in that plan. Now you would say, geez, I didn't even know that they were really focusing on reliability, but apparently they were because we have evidence of it there when we went out and did our assessments. However, having a good reliability validation plan or a reliability production program plan doesn't necessarily mean that you've done a good job executing it. So when you look at the right-hand side of the screen and we look at where the lower scores were, you can see that it was in development failure analysis reports, development corrective action plan, reliability program risk assessment report, life cost analysis, reliability growth plan. These are things that we found that our supply base was not very educated on. And if we don't start measuring things, and if we don't make things an expectation in the world of reliability, we are not going to see the product reliability get to a point that the customer really wants it to be. One thing for me, I drive a fairly long distance to and from work, from my home to work. I don't want to have a vehicle down. I need to have that transportation back and forth. I can't carpool. It's not an option. I can't take public transportation. It's not an option. So for those of us that are in the automotive industry, you know, we must realize that as our consumer becomes more knowledgeable, the expectations that they have of us are going to increase. And we're putting a lot of bells and whistles in our vehicles and creature comforts, which is really awesome because I really like heated seats. I like my heated mirrors. But if my vehicle is going to break down because we, and I'll say we, being the quality engineers, design engineers, reliability engineers, test engineers, haven't done the right things right in the area of reliability, I'm going to be an upset customer. And look at these numbers. 76% to 88% had fairly good scores for reliability planning. On the other end, 52 to 65% was their reliability maturity index for reliability implementation. And I seem to be stuck. There we go. All right. Bottom line benefits, this is what management really wants to hear. They don't want to hear about, you know, all of our performances except for when it hits the bottom line. And by focusing more attention on reliability and incorporating those processes into all the product lifecycle phases, you can certainly see increased profitability through efficiency and reduction in engineering changes, testing, process changes, product rework, warranty campaigns. More bottom line benefits is increasing profitability through improved product reliability. You have reductions in repair, reductions in maintenance, and reduction in customer complaints. And that's just information on the speaker. And I guess we'll open it up for questions now.
Okay, Sue, I'm going to take it over and change it to me as an organizer.
Okay.
All right. Do you see some questions now in your bottom box that you want answers, or I'm going to have a couple questions. I'm going to read it to you, and we can go from there, Sue? Okay.
Yes.
My first comment is I think this is a very good presentation. I've been in the quality and reliability for a while, and I have seen new information I haven't seen before, so it's very good. One of the questions repeatedly come up is that what materials, what slides, what files is available to share and what's not available to share? I know some of them is, some not. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, all the slides are available to share. The linked files are not available to share. And for fear of this sounding like an advertisement, I do have to tell you that the Reliability Methods Work Group through AIAG is getting ready to release a reliability tools bundle that will have a lot of the reference materials in it. And if anybody would be interested in seeing the rollout of those materials that are going to be available for purchase, there's a rollout on May 10th, and they can go to aiag.org to get information on that rollout. Because I'm telling you, again, when I researched this topic, examples of reliability maturity assessments was not available.
Yeah, I think some of these files, some of this information is very useful. You can save a lot of time by having those, so that's good. So these slides, the PowerPoint slide will be available, and you know, the recording was there. We can go from there, I think, as we move forward. Another question is that, you know, most of the companies are deploying a lot of initiatives. You know, we got Lean, we got Six Sigma, we got Taguchi, we got problem solving, we got robust, we got all this stuff here. Now, how can we convince management to deploy, or if you will, to apply RMA on top of all the initiatives that we have? You know, what else can we do to help them understand the importance of this and moving forward?
What's different about RMA is that it's not a program, it's not a requirement, it's not a standard. What RMA is a tool to help you identify where your strengths and weaknesses are. If we go back to the list of things that we have created criteria for, Taguchi is one of them. Okay. So it's asking, you know, do you use Taguchi or similar method? And gives you criteria to assess yourself against. And I'll tell you, one supplier that I did the assessment for, they wanted me to come back and present their results to their management team to show evidence that they needed assistance in an area that they were weak in, rather than putting their attention towards another program. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Another initiative. So this is really a tool that a reliability department could use to take to their management team and say, hey, you know, we can't continue falling short in the area of boundary diagrams, as an example, because we need those to make a meaningful DFEMA. And so on. I mean, it can go on and on and on depending on what tool you select.
Okay, now, what kind of benefits, what kind of percentage warranty has been reduced, or customer satisfaction has been increased as a result of applying these RMA? Do we have any empirical data yet?
There is no empirical data yet, and the reason being, this is very young. AM General launched it in 2007. I mentioned that, so we were assessing folks between 2007 and 2008. The suppliers of critical items that we were assessing were on programs that haven't launched yet for AM General. But what it does tell you, it tells you where your strengths and weaknesses are at your supply base. So if you're having current problems in the field, it's a way to identify maybe some areas where, you know, if the supplier would like maybe start using some of these tools when they're doing problem solving or design engineering or validation, it can help prevent the problems from getting to the field, and it can be caught before we get into production. You know, this is going to be the same growing pain that we saw with the quality initiative. Remember, quality is free, but we had to invest in training and procedures and application and implementation, and it's not much different from that. You're not doing additional things. It's almost like you're doing some of the current things differently because your approach now is towards mitigating risks instead of making part to print.
Okay, I have another good question here. Now, since implementing the RMA, what percentage of company or what companies have been aware of this great tool? I mean, obviously, I'm just aware of it today. Apparently, there are a lot of people may not be aware of this. So, what companies or how many companies are aware of these tools yet?
They're just going to become aware of their availability on May 10th. There have been flyers that have been going out, and as you know, last October, AIAG put some information out that this set of reliability tools was going to be released in the spring.
Okay.
So persons that participate in AIAG activity, now we're sharing this with the ASQ world. I do know that the Big Five have been given an information email about the contents of the reliability tools being available, and they were supposed to put it on their portals, their supplier portals.
Okay.
So little by little, the information is getting out.
Okay. I have a technical question here. What is the difference between a failure rate and hazard rate?
Because my area of expertise is not in reliability, I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Okay, that's fine. I knew it's kind of technical question here.
Yeah.
Can you really combine reliability and quality management? Oh, quality measurement and reliability.
Ooh. Again, there are some areas of slight overlap, but because reliability is really focused on risk identification, mitigation, prediction, I'm going to say no. But here's a caveat.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier that the majority of companies out there do not have the afforded luxury of having a reliability department per se. So what we do have is we have persons that fall under the name of quality doing reliability type work.
Okay.
Probably not as extensive as persons that have a reliability department, but that might be where this question is kind of leading. When AM General, before we did reliability maturity assessment, we sent out a survey. And shoot, I don't have the number in front of me, I don't believe. But on the survey, we asked, do you have a formal reliability department? And I'm thinking like 26% said yes. So it was a low number.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep. The question coming in say, are there any case studies available? If so, where are they?
The case studies that would be available would be in the form of reliability maturity indexes that I was showing you tonight. The one slide, well, I'm trying to remember what slide it was. Give me one moment. So are they looking for more of a white paper on it? Because I have been asked to write one, and it's not written yet, but
I guess I would interpret the question would be, do you have any case study, which means that you assess somebody, you got the data, like the 80-40-45 supply that you've done, and something like that can be published, or that could be, information can be shared.
Yes, and
okay.
That's why I was flipping through my hard copies here. Yeah, there are a couple slides in here that represent the information that was gathered from those specific assessments. So slide 22, excuse me, this slide number is right in my hard copy. Slide 22 actually represents 14 suppliers that were assessed using the AIAG, RMA, these acronyms. And then there is one in here that I showed from AM General's 2007, 2008 assessments that represented my overall suppliers, which would be a compilation of all the assessments that we did. And that was slide 25, which was talking about, remember at the beginning of it, I showed that we had that green circle.
Mm-hmm.
They were really high performing in planning, and then on the far right-hand side where we had a lower performance number, we showed that, yeah, the planning was fairly good, but we couldn't execute it, and the evidence was low reliability maturity indexes for life cost analysis, reliability growth planning, development failure analysis, and so on. So that's really what we have as far as business case, case examples, case studies.
Okay, I think we're reaching up to the 2-minute warning here, so I'm going to ask you one more question, and we can go ahead and do the wrap-up. You show a bunch of tools, right? You got some of the reliability tools, one of which was problem-solving and root cause analysis. How is problem-solving and root cause analysis play in the reliability aspect of it?
Do you know what slide that was? Let me look at it real quick.
Yeah,
so
just all the tools. One of them is like Toguchi. One of them is problem-solving root cause analysis.
Here, let me go to.
We just want to know. We just want to know how is that tool is being used within the reliability arena.
I don't want to contradict what's already out there. There are 2 different specific tools, and I know that's the question. One is root cause analysis and problem solving. Well, there's FRACAS. First of all, FRACAS is generally used when you're in the development phase, and it's very similar to your problem solving methodology, but it's gathering the information during the validation phase.
Okay.
Whereas if we're talking about problem solving methodology, it's more like how do you go about describing your issue, gathering information to support that you have an issue, and so on and so forth. And you know, I would much rather have the tools in front of me to talk through it,
okay,
than just do it from the top of my head, because I don't want to confuse anybody.
Okay.
But
well,
I just want to make. I know we're getting to the 2-minute mark, but that reliability toolkit that's going to be released May 10th. It's going to have 45 reliability tools in it, and it's going to give you a tool for each of those that question was referring to.
Okay. Do you know how much that toolkit is going to cost by any chance?
I do not know that.
Was it released by AIAG?
May 10th is the big date, and AIAG.org is going to give you that information.
Okay, okay, so good question. Awesome. Hey, Sue, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time and make a great presentation for us. I think the information is very helpful. I also want to thank everybody who are attending for your time and effort. I hope that you will go to our website and download these slides and these presentations. And I hope that you will join us again. Well, once again, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Sue, for giving us this great presentation. And I hope to see you again next month. Good night, everybody. Thank you.